Well, good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to the second episode of the Rings of Power Wrap-Up.
Folks, go ahead and pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Sean Marchese, the Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the Man of the West, Alan Sisto.
That's right. Today, we are going to be talking about the teaser trailer as Amazon continues to reveal glimpses into the series coming out later this year.
But before we get to that, we're going to discuss the Vanity Fair exclusive. So folks, for those of you joining us for the first time, which is probably still most of you since this is only our second episode, welcome. Here at the Rings of Power Wrap-Up, we discuss, analyze, dissect, and speculate all about Amazon's television adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth.
We're going to take deep dives into the lore behind the show, or at least the lore that should be behind the show. We're going to talk about our favorite themes and characters, whether they're canon or entirely made up, and much more, all based on our many years as Tolkien fans and podcasters.
But we're also going to make sure we have a lot of fun along the way.
Oh, yes.
And in that regard, tonight is definitely going to deliver. So we're glad you've joined us.
We are indeed, and we hope you'll be glad you joined as well. Now, before we get into this episode, we want to remind you that if you'd like some company as you read any of Tolkien's works, you should listen to our original show, The Prancing Pony Podcast.
That's right. For 6 years and nearly 240 episodes, Alan and I have been walking our way through Tolkien's legendarium, from the Silmarillion to the Hobbit, and we're now more than halfway through the Lord of the Rings.
Now, we like to consider ourselves the finest Tolkien podcast this side of Bree. We've been invited to speak at Tolkien conferences around the world, and we've also been honored with a Tolkien Society Award for Best Online Content. Frankly, we'd like to think there's no better companion for your extended trip through Middle-earth.
Indeed. But this show is all about the Amazon series.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that.
Okay.
And first, we need to talk about that Vanity Fair article that came out last Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
By far, the most substantive release of information on the Rings of Power that we have seen so far, and it has been
absolutely
quite the conversation starter for the
It
last
really
few
has.
years.
It is a treasure hoard of information.
It really is.
Well, relatively speaking. I mean, I still have a million
Sure.
questions, but it's far more than we've gotten before.
Every bit of information has raised more questions, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about some of that here.
That is true.
But yeah, I mean, this is it. This is where all just like the little snippets, the images, the faceless posters, all of that stuff is now we finally got something to sink our teeth into.
Exactly. So for those of you who don't know, this last Thursday, February 10th, Vanity Fair released a lengthy exclusive article that provided several inside looks at the upcoming show. So go find it. We'll eventually have show notes. So those of you listening to this, maybe a week or two from now, go to our website, ringswrapup.com, or we will eventually have show notes for you. So we're going to take a look then at that article and some of the things we found out, along with quotes from the showrunners and others associated with the project.
That's right. Now, this isn't going to be a time to pick apart all the details.
Not yet.
This episode would be hours long if we did.
That's true.
We're just going to go over some of the bigger pieces, and
Yeah.
we'll probably come back to discuss some of the specifics later on as we go on with this show, as we wait for the actual series to start.
That's right. Now, we do get a clear summary of the core of the story. I want to quote Patrick McKay. He's one of the showrunners. He says, "It's the story of the creation of all those powers." He's talking about the rings of power, including the one. He says, where they came from and what they did to each of those races. Okay, so far. I mean, that sticks with the main story, right?
Yeah, that does stick with the main story. It's relevant to Lord of the Rings. It's definitely something people are going to be interested in.
Yeah, it's a question we all want to know.
Absolutely. Now, then he goes on to say that the driving question behind the production is, can we come up with the novel Tolkien never wrote and do it as the mega event series that could only happen now?
Okay, that I have to admit that gave me a little pause. The idea of trying to write the novel Tolkien never wrote is...
I'm with you, because the first thing I'm thinking of is, well, no, he didn't write the novel, but he wrote lots and lots of notes and partially finished manuscripts. We've got that story, right? We talked about...
He wrote outlines and drafts, and
We've got, annals of kings throughout Númenor. I mean, granted, it's 3,400 years of history in the books.
True.
And we don't have all of that.
I think what he might have meant is, can we come up with the novel Tolkien wrote, but that we couldn't get the rights to, and do it as the mega event series that could only happen now?
Maybe.
Because as we'll discuss later, it turns out they don't have full rights to anything in the Silmarillion or Unfinished Tales. They have
That's correct.
access to the appendices and to the events in The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that are mentioned in the appendices, But my understanding, and I'm still trying to find confirmation of this, is that they do have to get case-by-case approval for anything that is outside of that scope. So, for example, the 2 Trees of Valinor that we saw in the still that we looked at in episode 1.
Yeah, and I remember the Twitter live chat that happened on Thursday, I think it
Okay,
was.
is that where that came from, where they talked about that?
Yeah, that's where they talked about the fact that they said it was the Vanity Fair journalists that were talking, and they said, yeah, the showrunners said that they have access to The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Now, they didn't specify appendices versus non-appendices,
Okay.
so that's where I'm a little uncertain what exactly that means.
I'd like to think it means that they have to get case-by-case approval for certain things. I would have thought for the 2 trees, but, they actually are mentioned in the appendices, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
By
Yeah,
name, too. Laurelin and Telperion
yeah, Laurelin
are
and
named.
Telperion, yeah. They are very briefly mentioned in the appendices.
All it takes is that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
I guess maybe they don't. We'll see.
Ultimately, we just don't know.
No, that's
There's
true.
still a lot that we don't know. To me, though, I'm still kind of hinging on this idea that they're going to write the novel Tolkien never wrote. It's like, I mean, look, I'm super hopeful for this series.
Me too.
I hope it's going to be great. I think it's going to be good. But man, the novel Tolkien never wrote, that's a high bar.
That's a very high bar, man.
And that's going to be tough.
Christopher Tolkien didn't even try that. He just published the novel that Tolkien never published.
That's right.
He didn't try to write one that he didn't write.
Yeah. Right. So, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think they are trying to be true to Tolkien, and that's what...
It sure seems that way so far. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes me excited here.
Yeah, me too. Well, Vanity Fair, and boy, I am jealous about this, they actually got to see the entirety of the first 3 episodes. Can you just, please, can I work for you next time? You didn't do that?
I wish I could see those.
And they described the show as a lavish, compelling mix of palace intrigue, magic, warfare, and mythology. And there are enough mysteries to power 1,000 podcasts. I'd like to think there's mysteries just to power 1, but who am I to say that?
Hold my beer.
Seriously, yeah.
We can't promise 1,000 podcasts, but hey, we'll get as many as we can out of it.
That's right. That's right.
Now, they do a really good job explaining a concept that we've talked about on the Prancing Pony podcast quite a bit.
I caught that, yeah.
That idea of Eald Enta Yewerk, or the ancient work of giants. They talk about how there are hints of an older and perhaps greater civilization.
I love it. They talk about it from the perspective of the original books, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. They write that Tolkien wanted the characters to pass through a scarred landscape full of the remains of the many civilizations and battles that had come before.
Yeah.
Their journey, after all, was not about confronting a new danger, but finally eradicating an ancient one, a scourge of malevolence that had tormented the land for eons. Tolkien dreamed up whole kingdoms, then collapsed them for background.
Oh, that is exactly what he did.
That's
textual ruins right there.
That's absolutely right. We talk about textual ruins on the Prancing Pony podcast all the time. That's exactly what that is. And when I hear stuff like that, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this is great. This is good news.
Yeah, that was encouraging.
They know what Tolkien is about, and they're there for it. And I love that. And I'm especially excited about this because this is presumably going to start early in the Second Age, I think. And so this should be a Middle-earth that's just been devastated by the War of Wrath. That's true. The end of the Silmarillion, right?
Yeah, entire continent, part of an entire continent destroyed, Beleriand gone.
Yeah. Was having a conversation with somebody on Facebook just a couple of days ago who pointed out that, that's an apocalyptic event. That's true. There's an element of post-apocalyptic, in the early Second Age. Not that it's going to look like Mad Max or anything, but...
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
That would be super cool.
Yeah. Galadriel, like out on the front of some, vehicle and
chained to the front of some motor vehicle. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Elrond on a motorcycle. Yeah.
Wearing a big skull helmet.
Oh, it could look like the skull helmet the skull that he wore in the Marvel films. The red.
Oh, as the Red Skull.
As the
Captain
Red
America.
Skull.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
That's terrible.
It's a bit of a digression right there, isn't it?
A bit.
So we did have some more good news. I mean, I love that. I think you're absolutely right. That is some good news. In fact, before I go to my next point, I wanted to add there are a number of times in the article, at least once, so that's a number, right? One, where they quote Mike Trout, who's been a guest on our show.
That's right. Yeah, he has been a guest on our other show.
And that makes me wonder if they've talked to him or at least listened to his talk about textual ruins.
I'm hoping so.
They made it very clear ever since the the shipping incident that they've not named their scholars, probably because
Right.
they don't want
Yeah.
their scholars to come under pressure and then say something, that gets them in trouble with an NDA.
Yeah.
But maybe, fingers crossed, maybe Drought's one of them, and he's been able to influence them in that regard in terms of textual ruins and
That's what I'm
ale
hoping.
identity work. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. They did quote a couple of Tolkien scholars in that
Yeah.
article. I think Dimitra Fimi was another one.
Dimitra Fimi was in one as well. In fact, it's this next point that Fimi was quoted as talking about. It had to do with the whole thing about the intimacy coordinator that they'd hired. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
if you all remember that.
I sure do.
I sure do.
People
Because,
were freaked out, man.
yeah, I mean, people were talking about the show was going to get all Game of Thrones. It was going to get violent. It was going to get sexual. It was going to get sexually violent as well. That it might turn into something with adult content, very TVMA.
And look, don't get me wrong. Like, I liked Game of Thrones. I watched that show right up until the end. I know you never got into it, but
nah.
I liked it. I was fine with it, but that's not Tolkien.
No, that's the point.
Martin's world is very different from Tolkien's world.
It's intentionally dark and very, very different from Tolkien. Not a lot of catastrophe in Westeros.
Right, no, not at all. No. And as much as I'm okay with that in kind of a,
well, sure,
in that sense in Game of Thrones, it would not work for Tolkien.
I've watched dark shows that have no catastrophe and no hope whatsoever, and yeah, those can still be great productions. No doubt about it.
Just don't say it's Middle Earth.
It's not Tolkien. It's not Middle Earth. That's right.
Exactly.
But the good news here is that showrunner, McKay, he tells Vanity Fair that they want to, quote, make a show for everyone, for kids who are 11, 12, and 13, even though sometimes they might have to pull the blanket up over their eyes if it's a little too scary. We talked about the tone in Tolkien's books, McKay goes on to say. This is material that is sometimes scary and sometimes very intense, sometimes quite political, sometimes quite sophisticated. But it's also heartwarming and life-affirming and optimistic. It's about friendship and it's about brotherhood and underdogs overcoming great darkness. I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked reading that a lot. And not just for what it says won't be there, right? The nudity and the sexual content. It's for what it is going to be there.
Yeah.
That it's, there'll be this intensity. Yeah, there'll be this political stuff, but it is going to be heartwarming. It's going to be life affirming. There is going to be a presence of hope and of light in this show.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that was something that really gave me a lot of comfort. That's another one of those things that made me realize, okay, they do get Tolkien well enough to do this.
At least, yeah. We'll see how they stick to that. But yeah, at least enough to get that far.
They get that fundamental thing, and I think that's really important.
That's true. And that comes back to the whole idea of, what's the framework that we're going to measure this by? And really we come back to Tolkien's own words about the core of the original. We'll get to that quote in a little bit after the break.
Yep.
Okay, so that gave me a chance to pull this quote. Now, we remember it because we talked about it a lot. So for those of you who've not followed us on the Prancing Pony podcast, way back at the end of season 1, we did a discussion of the Jackson films spread over 2 episodes, one covering the Lord of the Rings films, one covering the Hobbit films. And the framework that we used to sort of talk about the changes stemmed from a letter that Tolkien wrote to Forrest J. Ackerman. So this is letter number 210. It's published in the Letters of J.R.R.Tolkien volume. And this had to do with a film treatment that was being written at the time by a man named Zimmerman. This goes back to 1958. And Tolkien writes to Ackerman and he says, the canons of narrative art in any medium cannot be wholly different. And the failure of poor films is often precisely in exaggeration and in the intrusion of unwarranted matter owing to not perceiving where the core of the original lies. So Tolkien recognized that there is going to be some difference between the canon of literary art and the canon of cinematic art. They're going to be different. They're not going to be wholly different. And the things that a filmmaker has to watch out for in doing a treatment of a text like The Lord of the Rings is exaggeration and the intrusion of unwarranted matter. And both of those really would stem from not perceiving what the core of the original is, not understanding what Middle-earth really is about in this case.
Yeah. So it's all about, there are certain things that are going to be, in any adaptation, right? There are things that are going to be added. There are things that are going to be taken away.
Right.
The question is, what do those additions or subtractions due to the core of the original? Do they
Exactly.
fundamentally change what the story is about or what the story is trying to say? And if they do, then by Tolkien's own
Right.
analysis, well, that's not okay.
Yeah. For example, in The Lord of the Rings, one of the changes was the fact that they had Arwen instead of Glorfindel. And of course, those of us who love Glorfindel were like, "Oh man, I wanted to see Glorfindel." But this made sense from a cinematic perspective. You needed to introduce the character of Arwen because of the role she was going to play in the love story with Aragorn. You didn't need to introduce a character that you were then never going to see again.
Right.
Made sense, okay? And it didn't change the core of the original. It didn't impact what the story was going to be about. It didn't
No,
change anything.
they still got rescued by an elf.
Right,
An elf still rode Frodo to the ford of Bruinen,
right.
right?
Come on down to Fort of Bruinen and buy your
Go on down to
F-150
Ford
right
of Bruinen
now.
and buy yourself a new Ranger.
Hey,
Arwen needed to buy
come
herself
on.
a new Ranger.
That's right. Well, when
Um,
hers dies, she might want a new one.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, all those things still happen the way they do. Now, one change about that did change the core of the original, which I think we talked about when we talked about the movie all the way back in season 1,
Mhm.
was the fact that you've got Arwen then giving that defiant speech to the Ringwraiths instead of Frodo.
Yes, that's true, instead of Frodo. And that's an example of a change that isn't necessarily due to the change in medium, and in fact does change the core of the original, because it takes away that courage.
Takes that strength that Frodo had and gives it to Arwen. Not that I mind Arwen having it, but
No,
it's
of
just
course.
it does change it changes Frodo's arc somewhat.
Yeah, it really does. So that's the kind of thing that we're going to be looking at here. When the story comes out, when the Amazon show comes out, we're going to be looking at how changes, if there are changes, and most of this is going to be just filling in the blanks, but how does it impact the core of the original?
Yeah.
What was Tolkien writing about? What were the themes and the concepts and the points that he was making in his story? And do these change that? And if they do, then, we're going to call that out. But that's the thing. We're just looking for somebody who gets what it's about. And that quote that we just read before the break really does suggest that, at least to some extent, they get it.
Yeah, I think it does. And that doesn't mean that there's not going to be changes.
Oh,
That
sure.
doesn't mean that they're not going to do things that we as book fans are like, why
Yeah,
are they
there'll be
doing
some
that?
cringe moments and some eye
There will
rolls, I'm
be
sure.
there will be some cringe
Yeah.
moments, and we'll make sure to be honest about those whenever we see them.
Of course.
But right now, I'm still feeling really, really excited, really, really optimistic.
Yeah, still a little cautiously optimistic,
Sure.
but
Yeah,
optimistic more than pessimistic at this point.
definitely.
Look, worst case scenario, it's a really cool fantasy story with people who are named after folks in Tolkien.
That's a good way to think of it. It's like,
really? It's like, wow, that's a great story. And that her name is Galadriel, just like the gal in the stories I really like.
yeah, exactly.
That's the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, worst case scenario is it's actual terrible, but I don't
think
with the
it's
amount of
going to be
effort
that.
they're putting into this, I doubt that.
I don't think it's going to be that.
I doubt
But
that. Yeah.
with that said, let's see. Were there any other things in the article we wanted to cover here? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. The whole hobbits thing, right? Hobbits or Harfoots, I should call them, right?
I know some people are not happy about this. I'm actually okay with it. I'm fine with there being hobbits, or if they want to call them Harfoots, they can call them Harfoots.
I think they have to call them Harfoots, but I may be wrong.
I don't know. I mean, given that apparently they have some kind of rights to the Hobbit, I would think they should be able to say the word
That's
Hobbit.
a good point.
But they don't seem to be calling them hobbits directly. I remember in the article it said they're Harfoots, they're Hobbit adjacent, I think they said.
Hobbit adjacent. They're satisfyingly Hobbit adjacent is the
right.
quote. Yeah.
Which to me, I'm like, okay, come on, they're not Hobbit adjacent. They're one of the three kindreds
That's exactly
of hobbits
right.
that's mentioned in the prologue to Lord of the Rings. So I kind of think maybe they're trying to have it both ways there a little bit. We're not going to say they're hobbits because
they're
want to
Harfoots. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Like, we don't want anybody to yell at us because there shouldn't be hobbits yet, but we're going to put hobbits in it because we totally think
and because that's going to appeal to a mass audience. The thing to remember, you got to keep coming back to the fact that Bezos and company have invested $1 billion or more in this show.
That's exactly right. They're not making
They're not doing this for the hardcore
just
fans.
for big book fans. Yeah, no. They need to appeal to the general audience, and to do that, you're going to need hobbits. I mean, that's one of the greatest gifts that Tolkien gave to the fantasy landscape, from his books to Dungeons and Dragons to so many other things. He gave us hobbits. So of course you got to put hobbits in there. I am totally fine with it. Kind of wish they would just call them hobbits, but hey, they want to call them Harfoots. That's okay. It's close enough.
I will say this, though. There's one line in the Vanity Fair article that I kind of glossed over at the time, but now that we've seen the trailer, and we'll talk about that shortly, I can't gloss over anymore. It does say that two lovable, curious Harfoots encounter a mysterious lost man whose origin promises to be one of the show's most enticing enigmas. Hold on to that. We'll come back.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to see that in the trailer, aren't we?
I think we are. Let's see what else to
Yeah.
talk about from the article. Arondir and Bronwyn, right? So we do know that there is a forbidden relationship between Arondir, who's a Sylvan elf. That's the one with that really cool green man sort of.
The green man armor, the wooden armor, yeah.
He's involved in this forbidden relationship with Bronwyn, an incredibly Welsh name, a purely Welsh name, I must add.
They've gone straight past Sindarin names right on into Welsh.
And she's a little human village healer. Interesting.
I mean, look, it wouldn't be Middle Earth if there wasn't like one relationship between an elf and a human.
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah.
So,
but if there's a bunch of them, then it's not Middle Earth either.
Well,
that's not a
that's
common
true
thing.
too. But on our other show, remember we talked about, there's only 3, and then
we were called out. There were at least a couple more. Yeah,
there were at least a couple more. So why not this one? I'm okay with it. I actually think it's cool that we're finally seeing one that involves a male elf and a human female instead of.
And that tells me it's inspired by.
Well, the story of Ignor and Andreth.
That's absolutely right.
From the First Age, yeah. So
hardcore. That's only in the history of Middle Earth, folks.
That's right. Yeah, the human wise woman Andreth, who was in love with an Oldoran elf named Ignor.
Finrod's brother, and that ended up resulting.
And Galadriel's brother.
That's right, and Galadriel's brother. Boy, that would be interesting. And that, of course, resulted in the debate of Finrod and Andreth, and they talked a lot about human nature and mortality. It's such a tremendous piece in History of Middle Earth.
A wonderfully philosophical little dialogue, almost like a Platonic dialogue written by Tolkien.
It really is. And I can't wait to get to that in, season 10 of the show?
Something like that? Yeah.
I don't know what we figured out.
Of the other show, of the Prancing
Pony podcast. Of the other show, not this one.
I don't know that we'll find a way to bring it up here, but if...
Yeah, unless the
we
story
probably
really
will bring it up.
It.
Well, I'm sure we'll bring it up.
I'm sure we will. I just hope the story echoes that a lot more than, let's say, Keely and Tauriel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, draw your inspiration from a textual source and not that thing.
But, yeah.
That's just what I'm saying. What else do we want to talk about? Well, I guess one thing to mention is that Arondir is played by an actor by the name of Ismael Cruz Cordova. He's going to be the first person of color to ever play an elf.
That's right.
In a Tolkien project.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point to maybe talk about this whole diversity of cast.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and quote one of the executive producers, and then you and I can discuss this quote. This is from Lindsay Weber, and she says, "It felt only natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like. Tolkien is for everyone. His stories are about his fictional races doing their best work when they leave the isolation of their own cultures and come together."
I agree with that 100%.
100%. Absolutely.
I mean, we talked about this way back in episode 114 of the Prancing Pony podcast, where we talked about, kind of wrestled with the question of Tolkien being appropriated by white supremacists. And we talked about the fact that Tolkien's work is very much about that. It is very much about people from different races and different cultures coming together and fighting evil together. And
that is when they're at their best. We talk about all the way in the very beginning, all the way back to like episode 5, when we're talking about the sins of Melkor. And one of the sins was, isolation, separation from community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when that community grows larger and incorporates more people and more races and more cultures, it's even more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that the showrunners are absolutely right on the money by doing this. I think it's great that we're seeing some diversity in the cast. I love seeing people of color among all the races of Middle Earth. And we've got elves, dwarves, Harfoots, and we've got people of color among all of them. And I think it's awesome.
I do too. And look, I want to make sure that we allow room for those who are, I'm going to call them textual purists, and that's not an insult. I know a lot of people will call people purists in a very, pejorative manner.
Sure.
Truth be told, I probably am very closely aligned with a textual purist in many ways. But I want to allow for the fact that there are going to be some who will be bothered by certain diversity in the cast from a textual standpoint. I want to differentiate between those and people who will use that as cover.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Textual purists, all racists will look like textual purists, but not all textual purists are racists. Does that make sense? It's in a Venn diagram, the circle of...
I mean, the thing is, there's very little in Tolkien's work that actually describes the color of a character's
That's the
skin.
point, right? A lot of it is just assumption because it's Norse and
Exactly. It's the Germanic
yeah,
the Germanic mythology inspirations. It's Tolkien's ideas about Northern Europe and wanting to make a
yeah.
mythology for England and stuff that drives a lot of this. But very little in Tolkien's books actually says anything about the color of any particular character's skin. Sometimes when it is mentioned, it can be interpreted many ways. Like, for example, the brown
Mhm.
hands of Samwise Gamgee.
Right. Could just be the dirt from being a gardener, or it
Yeah.
could be his skin tone,
Or it
right.
could be a darker skin tone, and we've seen
Yeah,
it
yeah.
interpreted both ways.
I mean, we do get some very clear descriptions, swarthy,
Yep.
when we've talked about that.
Hmm.
There's no question that some of the darker skin tones in Tolkien's works tend to be, at least the ones that are identified as such, associated with other
Well,
cultures.
for example, the Haradrim. We recently
Yeah,
covered this on the other show, right? When
right.
Sam sees the fallen
The
Haradrim
southern,
soldier,
yeah,
and his dark skin color is described. It is
yeah,
clear that he has a darker skin color than Sam, and there is
mhm,
a bit of othering there that takes place.
yeah,
And yet, right as that happens, we see Sam identify with the fallen soldier,
exactly.
and that takes us back to the idea that
Yeah,
Tolkien ultimately may be conscious of differences in phenotypes, but he is
hmm,
ultimately generally about bringing races together and
correct.
finding the common ground between us.
So, folks, go ahead and take a look at our other show. Even if you're not interested in the books, you're not interested in diving in. If you want to explore this issue a little bit more, start with episode 114. We looked into Tolkien and race, and it was the two of us. And
Mm-hmm.
after that show, we realized that the one thing we were missing as two white men were
Was
the voices
the
of people of
perspective
color.
exactly?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So we invited some guests on the show, and that would be episode 192, where we actually heard from some folks who could give us their experiences with the
yeah,
text and how they faced that both with the text itself and in the fandom. And I think that would be a really good primer
yeah.
for, coming forward into this show and seeing, different skin tones in all the different races.
Absolutely,
So,
and it was overwhelmingly positive what we heard
oh
in
yeah,
episode 192
absolutely.
from people from different backgrounds, and I think it
Hmm.
fits really well with some of the things I've heard the showrunners say, and I heard some of the commentators say in the live chat on Twitter last week,
Yeah,
just about the fact that Tolkien is for everyone, and people of different racial backgrounds can come to Tolkien because there is a universality to the story.
that's the truth.
And that's why I'm happy that they're making sure that this adaptation reflects what the world actually looks like.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Great stuff. And that, I may have some gripes about the show.
Oh,
Let's just be honest. There may be some things that I am going to roll my eyes about. It's very possible, but it isn't going to be that.
I've got one I want to gripe about right now.
Let's do that.
The Second Age, when this is supposed to take place, it's like 3,400, 3,500
Yeah.
years of
It's a
history.
big span of years.
And the showrunners have said that they're going to compress that
Yeah.
so that they can tell it and, basically not have to keep killing off characters.
Yeah. They gave us their excuse. I mean, reason in this particular
Yeah.
quote,
Yeah.
because they talked to the Tolkien estate and then they said, if you are true to the exact letter of the law, you're going to be telling a story in which your human characters are dying off every season because you're jumping 200 years in time. And then you're not meeting really big, important canon characters until season 4. Look, there might be some fans who want us to do a documentary of Middle Earth. I'm raising my hand over here. But we're going to tell one story that unites all these things. Okay, I get what he's saying. Frankly, I would just cast some extra people because there are still very big, important canon characters earlier.
Yeah.
We might talk about Ar-Pharazôn and how important he is at the end of the Second Age, but Tar Palantir was just as important. Or you could go back even further and have some of those discussions of the elves coming over when the unrest began.
Yeah.
You could have Aldarion and Arendis. They're canon.
Yeah.
And they're very important.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff they could have done.
Yeah.
And frankly, who wouldn't have liked to have seen the Cats of Queen Beruthiel?
That would have been amazing, actually.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would have been phenomenal. Maybe we'll see a hat, a little hat tip to the Queen of
Maybe so.
Cats of Queen Beruthiel at some point. But yeah, I mean, that's a real disappointment. I think that's the big one.
It is, and I understand why they're doing it.
Oh, sure.
It's another one of those things, canons of narrative art. When you're making a series, a TV series,
Yeah.
you're going to have to sign actors for a certain amount of time,
It's true.
and you can't just keep killing people off.
I mean, well, you can, right? I mean, if we talk about the show getting Games of Thrones,
Well,
didn't
that's
they just
true.
kill people off all the time?
That is true, but it complicates things.
It does. It does. The only thing is it does take away a big chunk of what I would call the core of the original in the Second Age, which is the tension that exists between mortal men and immortal elves.
That is exactly it.
Yeah,
because that is really the fundamental
it is.
thing that
It's the driving force behind what Númenor ends up doing.
that's
Yeah,
true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's going to be hard to see that
it will be very hard to see that.
if we don't show the full span of time. And I also just think some things are just going to lose some weight.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I don't know why. I can't really pinpoint exactly why, but there's something like 1,000 years between when Sauron
Yeah.
makes the One Ring and then when he actually does anything with it.
Right, when he decides he wants to cover the world in a second dark.
Right, exactly. And I think if he were to just like make it and then suddenly like, all right, I'm going to do this now.
Oh, yeah, now I'm powerful.
Second darkness time. I just think it loses
It
something.
does. Relationships or friendships between elves and humans are particularly poignant because of the mortal nature of humans.
Yeah.
Elves really struggle with that.
Right.
And the friendship with a mortal seems, well, certainly that's one of the reasons why there aren't very many unions, aren't
Yeah,
very many
yeah.
marriages between elves and men.
That's a very good point.
And it's a huge thing. And to get rid of that.
And if they're leaning into at least one romance that's going to be a major part of the story between Bronwyn and Arondir,
Right.
you would think that they would want to get the most out of that.
Yeah.
Show the human aging, show what that does to the relationship.
And show her
yeah.
eventually passing away.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
sorrow that would entail. Yeah. They are going to lose quite a bit, I think, by compressing it. But again, we're optimistic. We'll see what they do.
Yeah.
That is going to be a big challenge for them to get the same intensity across in the storyline.
It is.
Ar-Pharazôn is the culmination of hundreds of years of frustration on the part of the Númenóreans,
Yeah.
at least on part of some of them,
Yeah.
in terms of their mortality.
And if we don't see that build,
No, you're right.
It won't have that significance. Yeah.
Yeah. It even was a driving force in why they became more of an empire than
Yeah.
a leader of men, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they were forbidden from sailing to the west past the ability to see, Meneltarma on the horizon. And so they turned their direction east.
Yeah.
And they kept expanding and expanding along the coasts of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
A lot of that had to do with their drive, the fact that they could not
Right.
be immortal like they wanted to be. It changes things.
It does. It does.
Yeah. Well, we'll see
Well,
how
we'll
they
see what
handle
they
it. I
do.
mean, again, cautious optimism. I'm just gonna let
Absolutely.
them do what they do.
I do have a few other things that I'm a
Yeah.
little nervous about. Like, for example, the treatment of some of the existing characters. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how they do it. Like, we see Galadriel, and I'm actually totally fine with Galadriel running around in armor with a sword.
Yeah.
I think she looks super cool.
I do too.
I like the actress playing her. I think she's going to do a really good job. But, when she's described as commander of the Northern Armies, I'm starting to think, like,
where's Gil-galad? Did
yeah,
somebody fire Gil-galad?
is she not royalty? Like, is she going to be like rising to power somehow?
Oh, yeah. Instead of
being, a princess of the Noldor,
yeah.
Same thing with Elrond. We're told he's a canny young elven architect and politician.
An architect and politician. Wait a minute. What? He's the son of Eärendil.
Yeah, exactly. His dad is one of the most important heroes of the First Age, if not the most important.
And the brightest star in the sky.
He's a planet, man. His dad is a planet.
Yeah.
Because his dad is so awesome that the Valar put him in the sky. Come on. He's not just like some architect and politician. I mean,
No.
architect, okay, maybe it's a nod to the Gondolin.
He's got to do
thing.
something with his free time, right? I mean, when you live forever, you got to pick a good job.
Hey, he's descended from Gondolin, so like those people could build a city. Maybe Elrond has got a little bit of that in him. But like, I don't want to see like some kind of conniving, sleazy politician Elrond. I don't know.
Ew, no. I hope not. I hope that's not what we get.
I don't want to see some poor Elrond wandering around begging for money. I mean, yeah, his brother is the High King of men in Númenor.
Right. Elros is the founding king of Númenor.
Yeah.
For those of you who are not familiar with the lore, and we're going to give you a whole series of foundational episodes, but I'll tell you this one snippet. Elrond and Elros are brothers. They are the sons of Eärendil, and they're given a choice to be counted among elvenkind or among men.
Right.
Elros chooses men. Elrond chooses the elves. So, of course, he gets to live forever. Elros does get a very long lifespan, I believe 300 or so years, and he's the first king of Númenor, and all of his descendants then ruled that island. But yeah, Elrond is no, ordinary guy.
He's no slouch. He's not. Yeah, exactly. He is a prince. He's royalty.
He's royalty, and he's the son of the guy who basically saved the whole planet.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So, Yeah.
So
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about on that before we move on to the trailer?
no, I think that's about it. I mean,
Okay.
one thing I'm not sure about is I want to see how they're going to use names. Some of the names I'm seeing in the
Yeah.
Vanity Fair article, I'm like, they kind of sound like Tolkien names, but I don't know. We'll have to see. And I only say that because Tolkien was so very specific, and
Very.
he placed a lot of importance on nomenclature. And
Yeah.
I mean, people who know his books and who've heard our other show know that it all started with the languages for Tolkien.
It did. That's correct.
And so it is really important to get the languages and the naming right. I'm not 100% sure based on what I've seen, but I'm
Mhm.
keeping an open mind.
Well, I'm hoping they have a really good language consultant or
That's what
3.
I'm hoping because I
Yeah.
am not like I'm interested in the languages, but I'm not the be all end all language nerd.
No. No.
So there's things that I don't know. And so maybe there's somebody working on it who knows more than I do. That's my
You
hope.
can't call up Domino's and order a pizza in Neo-Cinderin?
No, I cannot,
No,
and I
neither
would
can I.
not.
Actually, you would if you could, don't lie.
Maybe, maybe.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the trailer. Folks, we are recording this just a couple of hours after Amazon dropped the trailer during the Super Bowl. And we're going to walk through not so much frame by frame, but shot by shot. So go find it on the internet and play along with us. Push play, push pause as we talk. We're going to go ahead and start with the first shot. And it is of a boat going underneath an archway of a bridge. And as the camera comes up, the thing that we see on the bridge before we even get over the bridge is an emblem that looks very familiar
Yep.
if we've looked carefully at those 23 photos. We saw this on a piece of armor or on the hilt of a sword,
On the
didn't we?
pommel of a sword, yeah.
Pommel of a sword, yeah.
And we thought that the bearer of that sword might be somebody related to the House of Elendil.
I think it might even be Elendil himself. I know I said Anarian, but I'm beginning to wonder if that's Elendil.
Could be.
And maybe the guy in blue is somebody we don't like as much.
Hmm,
Because we didn't if
maybe.
it depends on the gold guy. If that gold guy is our Pharazôn, then I don't know. But I'm still wondering if that gold guy is Celebrimbor because he's just looking so flashy.
I still think that gold guy is Gil-galad, if Gil-galad is even in the show.
If he's in the show. I think he is, and I think we actually see him in this trailer.
I think so
I
too.
think.
Yeah.
All right.
But the sun is definitely a Númenor symbol.
Absolutely.
And so that means that this has got to be one of the havens of Númenor.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so because of the sun, I think we're sailing to the west, so it does look like we're sailing into harbor, so this must be one of the eastern-facing harbors.
Right. And Ravenna was their greatest harbor, and I think that's what we're looking at here is the harbor of Ravenna.
Yep.
And we're seeing, as the camera moves up, we're seeing the Meneltarma in the background. That's that very, very high mountain in
Very
the
tall
distance.
mountain back there, yeah.
And then we're also seeing some interesting things in the architecture. Of course, we see the busy scenes of a harbor. I notice a couple of things. There's this big pillar off to the left that looks like maybe a lighthouse, I'm thinking, right? You've got the fire at the top.
That's what I'm thinking it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And though it is probably a lighthouse, of course, it's going to remind people of the beacons of Minas Tirith, right?
Yeah, the lighthouse is lit.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
beacons are lit.
And the other thing that's going to remind us of Gondor is this big
statue,
this big figure.
Now, do we think that that is perhaps Elros, the very, the founding king, the first king of Númenor? Or do you think maybe this is at the tail end of the whole thing and this is our Pharazôn going, I need a statue of me, I am so great?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I assume it's probably Elros, but we really have nothing to base that on.
No clue. I'm just guessing, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some construction going on in the far left-hand side.
Yeah.
Underneath that deal there, you can see some scaffolding. So I don't know if they're working on maybe a ship there or something, but
yeah.
That's a pretty shot.
It's a beautiful shot. I love the architecture. We're seeing
Yes.
a very kind of neoclassical, almost Mediterranean look to the architecture. Not entirely. I mean, some of it looks a little bit Gothic, like kind of like these pointed arches.
The pointed arches, exactly.
But a lot of it on the right-hand side especially looks fairly classical, and that's consistent with what we would expect from like even Minas Tirith and the Jackson films.
And that's the thing. This looks a little bit like Minas Tirith, but also a little bit like some of the Elvish
That's exactly right.
stuff. There's a blend here, and I think that's to be expected.
That's what you would expect because this place, Númenor, was founded by, yes, the ancestors of Gondor, but they're much closer to the elves at this point.
Much closer. Well, they're the Edain, the elf friends. So
that's right.
All right. So the next shot, we see the camera moving forward into the wilderness, and as we crest this little hill here, we see Rocky and Bullwinkle. Hey, Rocky.
So who are these guys?
Pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Who are these guys with the antlers?
I'm...
Are these Harfoots? I mean, I know the Harfoots are supposed to be kind of wild.
Yeah.
And I think this is a Harfoot that's speaking in the voiceover, this bit about the wonders in this
Yes, I think
world.
so too.
That
The
sounds like a
wonders of the
Harfoot just
world.
because it reminds me of something. It's like something Samwise Gamgee would say, right?
It does. Yeah.
Do we think these are Harfoots, though?
Could be. I mean, maybe the antlers are that large to give us a little sense of scale, but why are they wearing them? I don't know. Are they there to maybe scare off predators? The wolves won't attack us if they think we're moose?
Well, the Balrogs don't have wings, so maybe the Harfoots need to.
These are these are baby Balrogs.
They haven't burned up yet.
No,
They're still
exactly. They
little.
haven't lit up on fire. And when they
Right.
do, sadly, their wings just become
They
shadow.
haven't had their first kindling yet.
I have to admit, this shot just kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit. Like, what now?
Honestly, aside from the antler wings, it's a great shot.
Oh, yeah.
This is clearly New Zealand on display.
Yeah, this is the environment that looks absolutely gorgeous. And I love as we crest it and we don't get a very long look at it, the valley that we look into
Yeah.
is gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous shot. I know the antler guys are a little weird.
Yeah, I don't get that. And I'm sure we'll get it eventually. I'm thinking maybe it's defense against predators, but it still makes almost no sense.
They're like walking scarecrows.
They really
scare
are.
everything away. I do not know.
So then we get to the person who I think is narrating those
Wait.
first little lines.
I know what they are.
What?
These are the ancestors of Thranduil's battle elk from Jackson's Hobbit.
Of course they are.
Right?
Oh, man.
Maybe they're
Wow.
refugees from Mirkwood. Thranduil's been teaching them about using the elk in battle.
That is brilliant.
Sorry, not sorry.
That's okay. No, don't apologize. So if we go to the next shot, we get who I believe is narrating, this child Harfoot.
I think so, yeah.
But what is all that in their hair?
Well, again, I think they're going for, kind of wild,
Yeah, almost feral.
almost feral kind of creatures of the forest, children of the forest kind of thing.
Children of the forest, yes.
Which I think was something from Game of Thrones, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't remember.
I would not be the person to ask.
I don't know. I mean, are those like horns and berries, or is it like twigs and berries she's wearing? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I got to tell you, I'm getting like Nelwyn from Willow as much as I'm
Nelwyn.
getting Hobbit here.
Oh man, yeah. Wow,
So I'm
that
not
would be a mix,
sure.
wouldn't it? No.
Yeah. No offense against Willow. It's just it's just a different feel here.
So then we move to the next shot. It says before the king. So clearly what they're trying to tell people, because remember, this ad ran to the Super Bowl. So they're reaching the most casual audience.
Yeah.
They're reaching somebody who one time saw Peter Jackson's
Right.
films in the theater 20 years ago.
So this is saying this is not a sequel. It's a prequel.
This is a prequel, right?
Yeah.
So now we get this shot with the waterfall and the mountains all covered in snow. Where is this, do you think?
Somewhere in the north, obviously. I know that sounds like a really
The north end of the Misty Mountains.
goofy explanation.
I don't think this is the Helcarax. I don't think we're talking about crossing the ice.
No,
here.
I've heard a couple of people already asking, "Is this the Helcaraxe?" And I don't think
I
so, just
don't
because
think
I don't
so.
think this show is going to tell that story.
It's also not described like that. I mean, the Helcarax is described as like a big grinding ice, like an ice cap, like a big bunch of icebergs, and not a mountain range with a waterfall.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to go to the very next shot because we see Galadriel here.
And a couple other people. If you freeze on the very first frame, you'll see that there's at least two other people behind her also climbing this frozen waterfall.
Okay. You are... Wow, yeah, I guess you're right about that.
Maybe even the third. I can't quite tell, but there's definitely two.
So I was going to say, it can't be the Helcaraxe because why would Galadriel be alone? But I guess you're right. She is not alone. There's somebody else there with her.
Yeah. But again, this looks like a military mission or something. This looks like, something you'd see at the beginning of a Mission Impossible film, frankly.
Right. And knowing what we know about Galadriel, apparently is going to start the show kind of trying to hunt down her brother's killers.
Yeah.
She's probably up north because that's where evil has always been in the first age, at least in Tolkien's world.
That's correct.
That's where Morgoth was. That's where Sauron was. Not quite as far north as Morgoth. But yeah, I think she's up north just kind of looking for remnants of Morgoth's empire, probably.
I think so. But we know that's Galadriel for sure. I mean, not only do we see the stars on her chainmail there, but we see that famous dagger that we saw in the stills. That is such a gorgeous sword, or dagger, obviously.
Yeah.
Or I guess ice pick, as the case may be.
Ice pick in this case, yeah. And then she shows her face, and then it's like...
she looks up and you're like, oh yeah, that's Galadriel.
That's totally Galadriel.
No question about it. So that's that shot. Now, if we go to the next shot, we see before the fellowship. So once again, before the king, before the fellowship, we get a very short shot of this raft.
Yeah.
Now, this is the shipwreck that we read a little bit about in the Vanity Fair article, where they talked about filming this scene. And we know that the man there is Halbrand, right?
Right.
Now, what do we know about the name Halbrand?
Well, when I first looked at it, I thought, it doesn't really mean anything. It looks like a Tolkien name, but it actually
Yeah.
is not.
I thought it was like
Yeah,
Halbarad's, little known brother.
right, because there is a Halbarad in the Third Age, and I just thought, maybe it's one that like they're just making up a name that sounds like a Tolkien name. Actually, Halbrand, I did some research into it. Halbrand actually does translate in
Yeah.
Cinder and Elvish to something like secret noble or something like that, hidden noble.
Okay, well, that's a little on the nose then.
If it's who I think it is, yes, and I'm not going to go out on a limb and say who I think it is just yet, but
Okay, fair
yeah.
enough. I'm almost willing to go out on a limb on
Are
that
you?
just because, yeah, I
That's
think I
fine.
am.
I mean, look,
So,
they've said that Isildur is going to be a sailor in
a
this,
sailor.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So between that and the name Halbrand, meaning something like hidden noble,
Hidden noble. Yeah,
could very well be Isildur in
I think it
disguise,
is.
incognito. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. But that shot is over in a hurry. I mean, it's gone in just a couple dozen
very
frames, not even
fast.
that.
Yeah,
And immediately we switch to a shot of the Sylvan Elf, and this is
so this is
Arondir.
Arondir. Yep, catches that arrow
Very Legolas thing. He is catching an arrow in midair.
once again. Elves nailing their dexterity checks.
Seriously, he just rolled a natural 20
Totally.
and he's not even bothered by it. Look at his face. He's just like, yeah, I do that all the
Yeah, I do
time.
that all the time. Grab it, turn it around, knock it, boom.
Boom. And now use it right against you. You shot at me with this thing. I'm going to put this through your eyeball.
Yep.
I love that shot, actually. That is a great, and I love that last frame, that tight shot on his
Of
face
his
as he
face.
fires. Yeah.
That is like steely eyes. It's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Steely
Yeah.
eyed indeed.
I mean, right away, this is a cool character. I want to know
Yeah,
more
this is a
about
guy
this
you don't want to
character.
mess with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to learn more about him. He's cool.
I do too.
I'm excited about
So
him.
then we get the Before the Ring. So once again, just reminding you, in case you haven't caught the clue yet, this is a prequel.
And I think that's significant because this tells you that it's not just like a prequel like The
That's
Hobbit
true.
was a prequel. This is a really far
Really prequel. Before the Ring.
right.
So we know it's really far back.
Right.
And that fades from black into the shot of this meteor going across the sky. And this is where I had to just kind of,
I have no idea what this is.
I had no idea. So I'm going to go right to the next shot because I have no idea. But we will come back to that meteor in just a moment. So that passes over and we get this top-down shot
Yep.
looking at an elf
Yep.
standing on some sort of platform near some water.
Yep.
Wearing some armor and a robe.
And a gold robe.
Gold robe. And you can tell it's an elf for sure. Not only the long hair and the cool outfit, but the ears are clear.
Yep.
I'm thinking Gil-galad.
Who do you think
I'm
that
thinking
is?
Gil-galad.
I think it's Gil-galad. And the fact that he's wearing that gold robe reinforces my speculation that the gold robe in the posters was Gil-galad.
Oh, yeah. You're right, actually. And so do the rings. That is Gil-galad.
Does he have a lot of rings on?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I didn't catch that on first read. That is Gil-galad for sure then. I mean, unless this is Celebrimbor.
It sure is. Look at that. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's that guy, whoever that is.
It is that guy, whoever that guy is. But if it's Celebrimbor, I think he's in the wrong place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I think this is Gil-galad. We see another shot later that looks like it's in the same setting with the gold leaves, and I'm certain that's Lindon. So
right.
We'll get to that in a moment, though. So we see the meteor. He sees something overhead. I suppose we're supposed to think that he's looking at the meteor, but we don't know that that's what he's looking at. And then that cuts to a cavalry charge. Well, maybe not a cavalry charge, maybe just a ride of horses.
Just a few riders, yeah.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily look like they're heading to battle because they don't. Galadriel's leading the charge, but has no weapon at the ready.
Right.
Very lightly armored. If anything, there's, just the that neck piece.
Yeah.
We should have gotten our equestrian friends to help us out with this. But yeah, this looks like they're just on some sort of a quest or a mission. She might be leading them in some way, not just because she's in front, but I almost wonder if these are men she's inspiring, because look at the outfits behind her. The guy here in the closest foreground is wearing nothing that looks like her fancy plate armor.
Yeah, that's true.
He's wearing cloth pants.
Yeah.
What looks like maybe, leather boots, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Plus, I also noticed that the two horses in the back are brown horses. She's got this,
she's got the white horse.
Beautiful white horse. Not that men don't have white horses. Obviously, look at Shadowfax in the movies. But,
right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe you're right.
They're
maybe
definitely not armored the way she
elves.
is.
Yeah,
so it makes
right.
me think like it may be a different group of people that she's leading here. I don't know.
Could be.
All right. So then we cut to this scene of somebody in chainmail and It looks like they've got a bow and arrows
Yeah.
and a torch in their hand. Who do we think this is?
No idea.
No clue.
I got nothing.
No clue. And I also have no clue whatsoever about this giant creature that they're facing off against.
Yeah, I watched. I was like, what is that
What
thing?
is that? It looks like a rejected Lucas creature. Like,
Does it have 2 mouths? Doesn't it look like it? No, maybe not.
oh no, that's just stuff in his beard.
Okay, for a second I was like, does it have 2 mouths? No, you're right, it doesn't. Okay, never
This
mind.
makes me think of like, well, when the Sarlacc died, Jabba the Hutt started throwing people to this guy.
No,
I mean,
yeah, right.
you know,
Yeah, I don't
what
know
in the
what
world
that
is this thing? The stony back and the weird tusks and the terrible oral hygiene.
Stony back? Is that maybe some kind of troll?
That's what I'm thinking. Some troll predecessor.
Maybe
Size-wise, it would make sense.
An Etten or something like that?
Oh, maybe,
I don't know.
maybe. Some, generic monster
Yeah,
that you don't want to encounter without your very large party and
Right.
a whole lot of natural 20s.
right.
Let's see. So that goes on, and wherever it is, it's cold, because when we get to the shot of this person turning around to wield the torch, you can see in the background snow on the rocks.
Yeah, you're right.
So wherever they are, again, this is maybe in the north again. So this might be, based on the dress, this might be one of the people that was with Galadriel climbing that waterfall or climbing that mountain,
Yeah,
because it's the same outfit that she was wearing, the gray cloth over the gray chainmail.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I just caught that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get A New Legend begins this fall, which of course we knew about. The New Legend is our show, but fortunately, Amazon is also doing something pretty impressive. Sorry.
Well said.
So then that fades into a very all too short shot of what I think is Lindon.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And I think that is why I am convinced that that is Gil-galad. And so therefore, I think you're right. That is Gil-galad in the photographs.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
That's exciting.
What do you make of this shot? Are those all elves, all keeping themselves socially distanced? Or I mean, there's a large group of them on the other side of the water that almost look like statues, but I don't think they are.
Could be a council discussion. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. It could just be
Maybe.
if this is Lindon and this is Gil-galad's people, they could be meeting to discuss, what they're going to be
Yeah.
doing.
That's a good point.
Remember that Gil-galad was the High King of
Yeah.
the Noldor in Middle Earth, and so
That's correct.
he is going to be a character of considerable importance if
Oh, absolutely.
he's handled the way he's handled in the books. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, you would expect him to have some sort of a council and to have a major part to play in whatever the
Yeah.
story is, even though they haven't really said much about him, probably just because people who haven't read the books don't know anything about him.
That's true. I will note that health and safety is going to give them some citations because they don't have any railings preventing people from going over the edge of
Somebody's
this
going
very
to fall
steep
right
fall.
off
Yeah.
that cliff.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
If you climb up to the top by this tree, you get a great What do you make of this bowl that's in sort of the mid ground here, right on the other side of the river, the near side?
The interesting thing about that bowl is it actually makes me think of Lothlorien.
That's what I was thinking. Made me think of the
And
Mirror of Galadriel.
now that I say that, you're looking at the trees with the gray bark and the yellow leaves. These almost look like Malorn trees, but Lothlorien doesn't have any cliffs like this, does it?
No, it doesn't. I don't know, though. I don't think they look quite large enough to be Malorn. I'm thinking, I don't know.
Well, that's a
I
good
don't know
point.
why-
They're not
maybe
big.
Aspen come to mind,
Yeah.
but yeah,
No, no.
they're not gray trunked. They're white trunked almost.
Yeah, maybe
I don't
so.
know.
Maybe so.
But yeah, I mean, Lothlorien wasn't fully founded by the time that they're starting this show, but I guess if they're looking at later in Second Age,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see.
I'm not sure either. But yeah, I wonder if that bowl is there and they're going to basically pull off all the high elves can do this, mirror trick.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Because that would certainly give them, the
Yeah.
ability to do some cool things
they-
about seeing the future.
They all do it. Sure.
Yeah,
Why not?
Elrond's got one too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this next shot, we're clearly looking at Durin the Fourth.
For sure.
But what in the world do you make of these two creepy, like, I don't know, stone death faces in the lower left-hand corner, the back of the, like, out of focus shot? That,
Yeah.
holy smokes, those are kind of creepy.
I don't know. Maybe, some sort of dwarven stonework. Maybe some masks or statues. Maybe they're masks. Remember the
Oh yeah,
the
that's right. They
dwarves
wore
made
masks into
pretty
battle.
scary masks in the First Age, didn't they?
That's true. I'd forgotten about that.
So
Anyway,
maybe
that's
it's
just a
like
little interesting thing I caught maybe on my third watch through. I was like, wait a minute.
that. Yeah.
So, all right, the next shot though, we get
Elrond.
Elrond, and what is this in his hand? Do you think? Looks dwarven though, looking at the runes on the
Yeah.
side there.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you wonder with the next shot if he's there with the dwarves, because we had a dwarf before him. We've got people behind him that look like they might be dwarves. And then the very next shot is a dwarven
Is a
princess.
dwarven princess. That's Disa. Yeah.
Disa. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There's nothing to suggest that Elrond is actually with them in this shot. They could just be mixing stuff up. They do that when
That's
they make
true.
trailers.
That is a good
But
point.
you're right about the thing in his hand. It does kind of look dwarven just in terms of the shape and the workmanship and the runes.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll have him be sort of, involved with Moria. How he'll
Yeah, I
be sort of the
wonder.
representative, the elven representative that, works with them.
I do wonder. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on from Disa, we see Galadriel again on the raft, it appears.
Coming out of the water. Yeah.
Coming out of the water, and who must be
Got to be
Halbrand,
Halbrand pulling her out.
grabbing
right?
her hair and pulling it to the side to reveal her elvish ear.
Yep.
Interesting. And she's got this look on her face that says, like, don't you touch my hair, man.
No,
Don't
do
you
not
touch my
the
hair.
hair.
I almost killed my uncle because
That's
he
right.
wanted to touch my hair. So
Are
don't go
you
there.
a dwarf? Are you a charming young dwarf? No, you are not. So you do not get to touch my hair.
Do not touch my hair. But clearly she must have been trying to hide her identity
Her
as an
elvish
elf.
identity. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. And yeah, she's none too happy about it.
No.
Now we get this crazy shot of the entire trailer, the one that I have no idea what to make of.
I think they thought, oh, it's not Lord of the Rings if somebody doesn't look like they're in some place that's burning up. So this is the shot that's going to make people think of Mount Doom.
This is the shot that's going to make people think of Mount Doom, but the rumors I'm hearing, and this is just rumor, and I don't like to use a lot of rumor on the show. We're not going to do that very much. And when we do, we'll identify it clearly as such, is that this is the crash of that meteor.
That could be. I mean, it's obviously not Mount Doom.
No, it's not a volcano.
I just think that it's put in here to evoke Mount Doom.
Yeah. The colors, the warmth
Yeah.
of that scene. Yeah, the
Yeah.
terrifying feel of fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this makes me wonder, what in the world? Who is this guy?
Yeah. No idea.
Who is this mostly naked creature being helped out of a burning fire? And the next shot is the same shot, but a wide shot.
Right.
Right? You can
Yeah.
still see the two figures surrounded by all this flaming debris. What in the world do we make of this? Can we make anything of this?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Alien spaceman lands in, crashed meteorite.
Yeah. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. I got
Is
nothing
that-
on
is-
this. I got
Is
nothing.
this Thor? I don't know. And that's one of those moments where I just have to kind of, all right, I'm going to wait and see what they do with this. And then I'll
Exactly.
leave it alone.
I think that's all we can do.
That is all we can do. So now we get Durin smashing a rock.
Yep. Because he's a dwarf. Dwarf's got to smash a rock.
Because he's a dwarf. And I'm wondering, everybody's looking on like this is a very important moment. Now, I don't know if it's that he has to prove his strength in order to become prince, or if perhaps they think there might be mithril in this rock and he's going to break it in order to find the vein.
That's what I was thinking, is that this is, because we know that we're going to see Moria founded here. So I kind of think this is, some mining activity.
That's what I thought.
Like, look, guys, I found this really cool stuff here. Check this out. This really neat metal.
Mithril.
Yep.
So, all right, now we're getting to the shot straight out of Russell Crowe and Gladiator.
Oh, man, this guy. How do you jump like that with that chain hanging from your foot?
I don't know, because that chain looks like it's pulling him down. So I don't know how he
does.
got such elevation.
Yeah.
And with that axe that he's wielding with just one hand as well.
Yeah.
Which
That's a big axe.
is a pretty big axe, I got to say.
Now, what is this to the right that he's jumping onto?
But that's the thing. It looks like there might be a couple people in there. If you look at the very lower right of the frame, it looks like there might be some people or creatures of some kind under that awning. But I have no clue what to make of this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some sort of really barbarian sort of fighting, maybe.
Yeah.
Almost gladiator type.
Maybe this is a non-Adine human. Maybe this is
a lower man,
some non-Númenorian, one of the men who stayed behind. Maybe he's descended from the Adine, but he's not one of the Númenorians. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah.
One of the ones.
Who knows? There's really very little to say on this shot as well. It's another one of those things where we have no clue.
And I can't link him to one of the posters either.
No, I tried desperately looking at the outfit that he was wearing to see if I could identify one of those 23 images, but I can't. And I can't even tell if those are human ears or elf ears. The shot goes by so quickly, even at slow motion, I just can't get a clear image. Even at full high res, I can't tell if that's elf ear or human ear.
Yeah, I can't tell either. I mean, just the clothing and everything strikes me as human, but you can't say for sure.
No. But that leads us into another shot of combat. And
Yep.
here we get a face-off of elves and orcs.
Yep. These are totally orcs versus elves.
Yeah.
I mean, the elves are sort of reminiscent of the Battle of the Last Alliance in Jackson's movie. Not
A little
quite,
bit.
but a little
A little
bit.
bit. A little bit more primitive, arguably.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that makes sense given that this is thousands of years before.
Yep.
But yeah, clearly you can also see, by the way, I can't help but notice this, the orc that is in the near foreground, not the one on the very, very far right, but the one sort of middle right, that's right face to face with the main character here, has elvish ears sticking out of his helmet.
No, yeah, sure does. Yeah.
And I think, again, they're going to be much closer to the corrupted elves here than they are by the time of the Jackson films, maybe. But
Could be. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good catch.
So who do we think this is that's fighting?
Do not know. Got nothing.
It's an elf.
He's an elf for sure. The armor and the pointed ear will tell us that. But again, I can't link him to anybody that we've seen in any of the posters.
No. I mean, the only thing I can think of is if maybe we were wrong and maybe that other guy really was Celebrimbor and he was hanging out in Lindon for some reason, and then this is Gil-galad.
This guy's too young to be Gil-galad, don't you think?
Yeah, you're right. He is.
Gil-galad is a
He's
noble
the High King.
personage. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if this is Celebrimbor?
Fighting? Was Celebrimbor ever much of a fighter?
Well, he certainly was killed in combat.
Well, that's true. And spoilers.
In the books, at least. Sorry.
What if this is a flashback? Remember, okay, I'm going out on a limb on this one. Really far out on a limb. Remember that we've heard that Galadriel is going after the people who killed her brother.
Yeah.
Might this be Finrod at the Dagor Bragollach?
I mean, maybe, I guess. But he didn't die at the Dagor Bragollach, did he?
No, he didn't. But, I mean, it could be Finrod. No, he didn't die there. Of course not. We know where he died. He died in the
Pits of Sauron, yeah.
In the pits of Sauron, killed by a werewolf.
Yeah. It could be. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I'm just trying to think of the craziest person it could be. But I don't think so.
With nothing to go on, it could be anybody.
And you're right. There's
it could be someone completely made
on.
up that we've never heard of. But if it's someone that we've heard of, I like the idea that it might be Celebrimbor.
I do,
because I want to see Celebrimbor in a Rings of Power show.
Yeah, as much as I'd like it to be Celebrimbor, I had forgotten that we know who the actor is, and this doesn't look like him. So I don't know.
Now that you say that, I'm looking. Yeah, okay. I guess they've got a much older Celebrimbor. So yeah, this would not be him.
Yeah, we should probably get familiar with the actual cast. I know we're very familiar with the actual real characters.
Well, once the show comes on, we will be. But I mean, right now, there's a lot of people and a lot of
that's a good
people
point.
that are not that well known to me. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It looks like whoever they're fighting with, right? I mean, they're fighting with the orcs, but I mean, whatever force of elves this is, they're surrounded.
Oh yeah,
this is the last stand.
Yeah, I mean, the look on this main elf's face, this is not a triumphant look. He's not happy.
No.
This is a look of fear.
This is the last stand.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know.
All right, and then we get the final shot of the trailer, a small hand.
Oh, yeah.
Grabbing onto the two fingers of a larger hand. Now, look closely at the costume of the left hand, right? The large hand.
Yep.
That is very much the same as the character that I said was, the evil queen from Snow White.
Yeah, the one holding the apple.
Right, the one holding the apple.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So again, no clue, no idea. Probably, though, the small hand belongs to a Harfoot.
A Harfoot.
And this must be along that storyline of that mysterious enigma.
Yeah.
Now, I know who the most mysterious enigma is in all of Tolkien's writings. And if they dare make this Tom Bombadil, I'm going to have a fit.
Well, he does live close to the hobbits in the Third Age.
I know, and that terrifies me. Yes, I know. Believe me.
They'll be like, everybody wonders why Tom Bombadil's never made it into a movie. We're going to put him in our show.
Oh, man. Wouldn't that be both wonderful and terrible at the same time?
Yeah. Tom Bombadil's going to be hard to do right, but...
Yeah, I don't think it is, but
it
is interesting that it's the same outfit as that.
Yeah.
And described as this big enigma.
Yeah. Could it be Sauron? I mean, we talked last time about holding the apple. Is it maybe Sauron in sort of a temptation guise?
In disguise, yeah.
Is this Sauron maybe ensnaring a young Harfoot? I don't know.
Maybe. We do know, though, that the Vanity Fair article talked about this mysterious enigma, but they were talking about it being the show's biggest mysterious enigma, not necessarily the books. So
right.
Maybe hopefully that rules Tom out.
Well, I don't think it rules him out, but
no, probably
doesn't
not.
really give us reason to think it's actually him either.
No, probably not. Well, let's start to wrap up. I think probably now would be a good time to talk about where we stand a little bit. I think it's already been something we've made clear that we are cautiously optimistic. We've talked a little bit about the things we're excited about and what
Yeah.
we're nervous about. But what we really want to do is let folks know, if you're a longtime book reader and you're terrified about what this show is going to do, you're not alone in your concerns. This is a place where you can hang out and you're going to listen to some honest feedback and honest reactions to the show. But if you're a new fan who has never opened a book at all, and your only exposure to Tolkien was maybe seeing the Jackson films once, this is a good place for you too, because it's a chance for you to hear the lore and to make your experience a
Hmm.
little bit richer. We are a welcoming community. We are not going to be telling you that, oh, you're not a real fan if you don't, blah, blah, blah. That's never going to happen with us.
No, no.
And so, whatever end of the spectrum you're on, no matter how experienced of a Tolkien reader you are, no matter how inexperienced you are when it comes to the Middle Earth legendarium, we just want you to know we're here for you. And we're looking
Absolutely.
forward to walking through this journey with you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And we're going into the show with optimism.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, some concerns, but I
Well,
think
yeah, of course.
everybody's got, hopes, concerns, all the above, good feelings, bad
Yeah.
feelings. We're going in excited. We are ready for this thing, and we are excited to just, like you said, Alan, just kind of go on this journey.
Yeah,
Let's see where it takes us. And I'm
exactly.
excited about that.
Because you know what? At the end of the day, the books will still be there and they're
Yeah,
untouched. This
absolutely.
doesn't change a thing.
And I think that's a good message for the book fans, right?
Absolutely.
People who are fans of the books who are like, oh, this. I never want any Tolkien fan to say, oh, this show came along and, what's the thing people always say? Oh, it ruined my childhood. Like,
Yeah,
come on. It's not,
doesn't have
it's
to.
not going to ruin the books. The books are still going to be there.
You buy a copy of The Lord of the Rings 5 years from now when this show's done, it's going to be the exact same text as the one you picked up last year.
Absolutely. The books are still going to be there, and there's still going to be so much stuff that Tolkien has already given us
Mm-hmm.
that his son Christopher has published posthumously.
Yeah.
And that all is still going to be there.
Yes,
This
it
is
will.
just a new way to approach Middle Earth. It's going to bring some new viewers, hopefully some new readers,
Yeah,
and I'm excited. I think it's going to be fantastic.
I am too. Well, folks, that wraps it up for the second episode of the Rings of Power wrap-up. Don't get used to this kind of length, by the way. We're going to be aiming for under an hour with each episode. But do be sure to join us again next time, whenever that is. The truth is, right now, we don't know when that will be. The next time that big news about the show comes out, you can rest assured, though, that we'll be talking about it and getting an episode out to the feed.
And if nothing comes out for a while, well, know that we'll be working on that series of foundational episodes to get you up to speed on the lore of the Second Age of Middle-earth.
That's right.
Regardless of whether the show is changing things up a little bit or not, we're going to give you the book version, and that's going to give us all something to go into the show with a little bit more information under our belts.
That's right.
Now, whatever happens, you're going to want to make sure that you've subscribed to this podcast wherever you listen.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go, we want to take a moment to thank the team that helps make this show better. That's our producer, Jordan Rennells, our barleman, Becca Davis, our social media manager, Casey Hilsey, and our website guru, Phil Dean.
Now, speaking of the website, please be sure to give us a visit, eventually, at ringswrapup.com. Right now, as of press time, it is just a placeholder, but eventually it's going to be built out, and you're going to find show notes, outtakes, our online storefront, and a lot more.
And you're definitely going to want to check out our library page. While this show is about the Amazon series, Alan and I are fans of the books first and foremost, and we provided links for you to get nearly every book we mention on the show. And we do get a few pennies from the purchases you make there, so thank you.
And one last thing as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, your favorite moments in the trailer to barleman@theprancingponypodcast.com.
Barleman is a lot more reliable than he used to be, but we do get a lot of mail. So we'll get to you as soon as we can, and your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
As always, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Farewell, friends.